Let me get my chat open in browser. Okay, I guess that. Streaming, right? Am I online? I am online. Oh, are you the one viewer? Is Matt here too? Actually, it says nobody's here. Hello? Do you have notifications turned on?
Yeah.
Good.
And
when you tap on it, does it open my stream or does it open the Twitch homepage?
It opens the Twitch homepage.
Does it actually?
Yeah.
Does it not open?
Or maybe it does. I think everything else works right. It's just
okay.
the.
Yeah, that would be crazy if it was like for nothing.
Oh, I can see your conversation with Matt right here.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
Streaming it all.
I'm waiting him to join the thing. And I can watch back all of your streams. Yeah. It saves where you were too. So if you click on the previous screen live for, you can watch left off. Are you in the channel now? So I can stop typing and start talking. She said, I would say Teresa. And I was like, you saw Teresa. He is in the channel now. Rockstar left a message on your video? Who's this? Hi. Oh. Nobody's in the chat though. Oh, Rockstar said hi. Hey. Wait. Oh, are you Rockstar?
Yeah.
Oh. Alright. So Rockstar is Alex. Alright. So I got Alex and Matt in the chat. Alright.
Matt's Redrook?
Yeah. He's Redrook. Alright. So let's rewind a little bit. So, a little while ago, Matt sent me this message asking me to try to figure out what the heck this program is doing, right? So let's figure out what this program is doing. So let me just make an object called Matt. And then let's make this main method here that takes in an args of type array string. And then this returns unit. Alright, see it. Alright. So now let's put this here. Let's put this here. Let's get some code formatting going on here. Alright. So, this is actually a very, very interesting program. So, let's figure out what this is going to do. So again, I have this object here, and there's a couple of methods in it, right? And then a val. And what this program is going to do is that it's going to print out, I guess it's going to print out this, right? Then it's going to print out this. And then it's going to print out this, right? So I guess let's like sort of trace through it. And what do we think is going to happen? Oh, no, this can't be here. That's a spoiler. All right. So what do we think is going to happen? So first it's going to print out argh.c, right? So we would expect that first it's going to print out a c. And then it's going to run the a method. So first it's going to print out c. then it's going to print out A, right? And this returns 1, but we're not doing anything with the return value, so that doesn't matter, right? So, again, to reiterate, first we're going to print out C, then we're going to print A. Then what we're going to do is that we're going to run B, right? So this is going to print out B, right? And this returns A plus 2, right? So first this runs A, so we should expect to print A after that, and it returns 1. So then this whole thing should return 3. So then, which means C should return 3C, right? So then we would so then after this, since we're printing it, we would expect 3C to come after that, right? So again, okay, and then after that we'd print this, right? REH.B, so which means that we'd print B, and then we'd print A, right? And then this whole thing returns 3, so we'd expect this to print out like 3B, right? Or B3, whatever. Wait, it would print out, I'm sorry, so this whole thing, oh yeah, this whole thing, yeah, so it would print out B, it would print out BA3, and then we would have this, right? So then it would print out A, and then this thing returns 1, so it'd print that out, right? So that's how that should work. So let's run that and see what happens. So if we run Scala mat dot Scala and then Scala mat, we get this, which is not at all what we would expect. First of all, it's printing out B here, which makes absolutely no sense because out of here, Edge. Sorry. Just make sure the stream's still working. I'm streaming this at school right now, so I'm like, I don't know what my bit rate is. So let me know if the stream is like unwatchably bad. Can you guys see it fine? Anyways, so the weird thing, right, is that the first thing this is going to do is that it's going to call this method, right? So we know that the first thing this has to print is C. There's no way around it, yet it's printing B. How is that even possible, right? This makes no sense. And Matt, I think this is probably why you sent it to me, right? It's very confusing why I would print B and not C, right? Because it's like, this is the first thing that's being called. How would this even be called? There's no way around it, okay? So how can we figure this out? So to illustrate this solution, I'm actually going to change this program to make it work, and I'm also gonna just make things a bit clearer by just putting in all the types of things, because that's where the issue is, right? So what is def A? What is this actually? What type does this return? So this returns an int, right? So let's just keep that in mind, right? So that type A, its return value is an int. Maybe we could even put in a return value here. You're not supposed to do that in Scala. I've never actually manually called return before, but I think you can call return. But you don't have to. The last value is just, I actually don't know if return is a thing in Scala. So this returns an int, right? I don't know if I say return, if that's I don't know if return is a thing, but I'm not getting any errors, right? So this is going to return A plus 2. And then, so C, that's going to return an int. Oh, wait. No, it doesn't return an int, right? This should give, I don't know why it's not giving me an error, but
446 was left unlocked, wide open, or 408 left unlocked, wide open, nobody in there. You need to make sure the door's unlocked when you leave, okay? The last person that needs to close that door, make sure it's locked, because stuff gets missing.
Wait, did something get stolen recently?
Tags lounge, like your lounge.
Yeah.
Nobody in there. The door's wide open. All your stuff is laying around.
Wait, has that been an issue? Okay. Anyways, so
You mean like last night or like?
So this returns a string, right? And by the way, if you see here, it mentions this like deprecation thing. So what's that about? So let's actually see what the deprecation is about. And the deprecation has to do with the fact when we're doing B plus C here. Deprecation. Yeah, did something get stolen from like from the lounge lately? I've never heard anybody complain about that before. Yeah, but I've never even heard anybody say that was like not good. Return method. Return outside method definition. Okay. Oh yeah, so this actually, okay. So this actually is a very good point. A bit of a spoiler, so I'm actually just gonna remove that. All right. You know what? I'm gonna get rid of that stuff. Let's get rid of the returns for a second, okay? And just keep in mind that that's what it's gonna be doing. So it turns out that I guess return doesn't work exactly the same way as like just not putting anything. So this returns an int, right? And then this returns a string. So let's just keep that in mind. And what is this deprecation thing about that we saw earlier? So it has to do with this b plus c here. And so what this is saying is that you can't add a number in a string before. So even we would expect if b is equal to 3 that this whole thing should return the string 3c, right? We expect that should return 3c, but it doesn't. Even though it will do that, doing that implicitly isn't allowed anymore. So let's just call toString on it, and then it won't give us that problem anymore. All right. So now we're a bit more verbose now. But I didn't actually change the way the program works at all. Like if I run it, or let me see, there we go, no more deprecation warning. But if I run it now, you'll see that right, it's the same strange output as before, right? And as you're saying, Matt, exactly what's up with this. So I'm actually going to change this now, and I'm going to make one change to this program. I'm going to change one word, and it's going to make the whole program work, okay? And then we're going to walk through it. So I'm going to change this to a def, right? And what happens when I change this to a def? All right, so let's see what this is going to do. I don't know the best way to like trace this, but like okay, so we're doing println argc.h, right? So first we're going to print c, right? So there we go. So maybe I'll just like write it there, right? So we print c. Or maybe should I like hide it? Or like, no, let's just, okay. So first we're going to print c, right? And then we're going to call this a method, right? And what happens when we call a is that we're going to print out a, right? And it's going to return 1, but we're not doing anything with the return value, so we're just going to leave it there. Then after that, we call b.toString, right? So that is going to print out b, and it's going to return a plus 2. I'm sorry, it's going to print out b, and then it's going to call a, which is going to print out a, and then this returns 1, right? So then this whole thing b here returns 3. So then this whole thing here is equal to 3c, right? So this whole thing c returns 3c. But wait, we were right so far. It's CABA, but it doesn't actually print 3c. It actually prints A. I'm sorry, it prints B. So what's up with that? That's not what we thought it would do, right? Because you'd think, okay, well, because here, so don't forget, so this whole thing, right, is going to be 3c, and then we're printing out argh.c. So why isn't this printing out 3c? All right, I don't know, but we'll come back to that later, right? And we'll see why it doesn't print out 3c and why the next letter prints out as b. So let's just ignore that, okay? It should have printed 3c, but it didn't. So what's going to happen after it prints, after this thing happens, now it's going to move on to here, right? So then we're going to print b, right? Which is what it does. And then this whole thing, I'm sorry, so first we print b, then we run a. So that's going to be a. A returns 1. So now this whole thing is going to be 3, right? So now this should print 3. But it doesn't. It just prints a after that. So that's something else that's weird, right? It's the same sort of issue before, where since we're printing argh.b, it should have printed 3, but it didn't. All right. Again, let's ignore that and we'll come back to that later, right? So after argh.b is run, then we run argh.a. So first what we're gonna do is that we're gonna print out a, and then that returns 1, so it should print 1, but it doesn't print 1. It prints it all at once, right? Now, why is this? So Matt, listen carefully, because this is there's two halves. So this was a good little puzzle because it does because there's two tricky things about it. So this is the first tricky thing, right? That's going to teach a lot about Scala. The way that println works in Scala, the reason that it prints out, because look at this, all of this stuff is at the end, right? The return values for each of these are printed at the end. Why is that? It's because what Scala does is that if you have print line, right? So if you have if you have a print line and you have a string in there, what it first does is that it builds the whole string and then it prints out that string, right? So what print line is trying to do in here is that it's trying to find the value, right? It's trying to find out what this string is. So what this string is equal to is that this is equal to argh.c, which is 3c, plus argh.b, which is 3, plus argh.a, which is 1, right? So that's a 3c, 3, 1. So when we print it out, it is printing all of that, right? Because that's how that works. Like, so yeah. Does that make sense? How printline works is that it builds up the string, right? It's not gonna, and honestly, that makes more sense, right? Because it would be weird if like it would print out part of a string, then print out other stuff, then like, you know, like why would this part sort of run like independently of these other parts? It shouldn't. So I don't know if that makes sense. But does it make so again? It's going to do everything. So this 3c31, that is the value of the string. And what's going on in each of these parts, right? These other things that we were printing out, right? These things that we are printing out up here, this isn't coming from this print statement. These are coming from these print statements. But what this final print statement is doing, right, is that that's going to return all of these, right? So that makes sense? Yeah? Okay. So that's the first half of it. Right? So given the fact that this is how printline works, Matt, now does this output make sense to you? Why this, again, I edited the code of it, but does it make sense now why we get this output? Because again, first C is run, right? So first we print out C, right? Then we run A, so then we print out A. This returns 1, but we don't use it. Then we run B, so this is going to print out B, then it's going to print out A, and then this, which returns 1, so this whole thing returns 3, so it's 3.toString, which is just 3. So then plus C, so with this whole C returns is that C, argh.c returns 3C, right? So that's the first part of the string, and then we need to combine it with these other parts of the string to get the final string that's going to be printed. So Matt, does it make sense why we get this, why this looks like the way it is, right? Because we do all the regular prints first, right? We do all the regular prints first, and then we do this. But now, here's the other weird part. Is that now let's change this to be val. Let's change it to be val, and then things start getting very weird again. So what does this look like? So now we're getting to this weird thing again. So the first thing that we're going to be printing is argh.c, right? So the first thing that should be printed is C. That's the only thing that could possibly be printed first. But it's printing B instead, which makes no sense because B is all the way down here. It makes no sense that this could be getting run first. Why is that? All right, now this is like the first weird thing that I noticed when you gave me the code. Is that how can it print B first? The reason why is because this is a val and it's not a function, right? So what this code does is that this is run immediately, right? Like as soon as it sees that this object, like you could think of it as like an initializer almost, you know? So it's like if I have an object, right? If I have an object or a class and it has some members inside of that class, right? Like if I had, val, if I had val v is equal to 3, right? And then again, this is some sort of property of argh. If I run argh, like as soon as this program is started, it will create this object called argh and give its member v equal to 3. So if I call argh.v, right, let's say I want to find out what that value is. If I want to print out argh.v, it's just going to print 3. It's not going to run this code. Right? So that's why this prints out b first. Because this code, val b, right, this specific piece is run before we even run argc.h. That's the thing, right? So here we have argc.h here, right? So we have argc.h here, but actually this runs before we even look at this. So like the order of execution would be like, first this runs, right? And then this runs. Or, you know. Yeah. Anyways, so this is run before this. So this is why first we print out B, right? Because the second we make an object, right? Because here we're making an object called argh. The second we make this object called argh, val B is going to run, right? And what this does is that this prints out B, right? So that's why we get B first. And then also it calls it A. So it's going to print out A, which returns 1. And then this in total is 3, right? But we're not doing anything with this return value. Because this has nothing, the fact that this is printing out B and then A has nothing to do with this print statement. It just has to do with the fact that we are initializing this object. Right, so that's, so again, so first we print out B, then we print out A, and then return 3, but we don't do anything with it, right? Now after B runs, now we're gonna run argh.c. So when we run argh.c, first we're gonna print out C, right? So that's what we're gonna, so far we have BA, right? Then we're gonna run this, so we're gonna print out C, right? And then we're going to call A, which is going to print out A, and it returns 1, but we don't do anything with that return value. Then it's gonna call B, right? But the weird thing is that we're calling B here, but it's not printing B, right? Even though we're specifically calling B here, right? We're calling B, and it's not printing out B, right? So that's kind of weird. Sorry. So we print out C, right? Then we print out A. We call B.toString. It seems like that doesn't do anything, right? And then we call argh.b. And again, we would expect it when we call argh.b for it to print out B, and then for it to print out A, and then I guess to not do anything with that return value, right? So we'd expect another BA after that, but this doesn't seem to do anything, right? And then we get A here, so then we get, but then when you call argh.a here, we get another A, right? So this is how we get the BACAA. And then there's 3C11, all right, 3C31. And this, again, is from building up that string. So you can actually see here that the end up return values for all of these are the same. So argh.c, this specific part, returns 3C. But again, when we called b.toString, it didn't print out B, and it didn't print out A. Yet somehow this was still able to return, this whole thing ended up returning 3C. Like, so you can see that if I like, so let's just get rid of this, right? And run it again. So if we only print out this, again, you can see that first it's going to print out B, because this is just being run as soon as we initialize the object, right? Then it's going to print out A, and then it's going to be A plus 2. Then we're going to add 2 to that return value. But we're not doing anything with this return value. And then once we initialize the object, then we're actually going to find what argh.c is. So then we print out, so again, so first it's B, then A, then we're going to print out C. Then we're going to run this A code again. So it's going to be A. And then we're going to do B.toString. So then we're going to print out A. And then what this whole thing returns here, right? What def C returns, the return value of this. Maybe I should have used explicit returns. So, okay, so like, I'm going to put the returns back in. Even though I guess it's too late now since I already did the whole thing. But so what this returns, B.toString plus C. So the return value is actually the same, right? The return value, so B.toString plus C is still equal to 3C. That's why when you print out this, we're still printing out 3C. So what's going on? So what's happening here is that a function, it's that val isn't a function. So if it's just a function, what happens is that it's some sort of function, right? And then when you call that function, it is doing what the function says. A val is just a variable that's equal to a value, right? And what's happening is that a plus 2, since that's the last part of it, that's what this is like returning, is that this becomes the value of b. So the very first time we initialize the object, right, we get it prints out b, right? Because that's just what it does. And then it runs this thing, a, so it prints out a. And then the return value for this whole thing is a plus 2, which is 3. As soon as this is run for the first time, right, this line, this whole thing disappears, and this becomes val b is equal to 3. That's what happens. So that's the solution to the second part, right? So before this gets commented out, right, the first time this is run, to just figure out what the value of b is, we print out b, then we run a, so we print out a, and it returns 1, so then it's equal to, so then this whole thing is equal to 3, so now val b is equal to 3. So now let's trace what argh.c does, is that now what argh.c does is that then it calls, so again, first we get ba from figuring out that b is equal to 3. Then we print out c, then we call a, which is going to print out an a, and this whole thing then returns b.toString, which is 3, plus c, and that's 3c. So that's why the print statement doesn't get called when we run b here, and why it also doesn't run a again, because now the value of b has already been like set in stone and permanent. And now we can so let's add in the other prints again. All right. So that explains the total output of the code then. Because first we print b. Sorry, so here first we print b, right? Then we run a, so we print out a, plus 2 is 3, right? But we're not doing anything with that return value. So now we're setting, well, I guess the thing we're doing with that return value is that now we're setting b equal to 3, right? So now b is equal to 3. And then we run a again, right? So again, first we get ba, then we print out c. Then we run a again, so that's going to print out another a. And then this whole thing returns 3c. Oh, yeah, no problem. So this whole thing returns 3c, so now argh.c is 3c, but we're not going to print it out yet, right? Because printline waits till everything is done before printing it out. Then we run argh.b, but argh.b doesn't do anything, right? We're just literally printing out argh.c plus 3, so then it's just going to print a 3 right after the 3c. And then it's going to call argh.a, which prints out an a and returns 1. So that's how we get the 3c, 3c, 3, 1. So yeah, Matt, did that clear anything up for you? Ugh. Maybe it would have just been better to do this over you know what? I have Discord open. What's your Discord? Oh no, Discord doesn't work. We should have done a Zoom instead. That probably would have been better. Instead of doing a stream, because it's harder to because then we could have spoken about it. But anyways, so that's the answer to the puzzle. So whatever the original thing was. So again, it's tricky. So again, there's two confusing parts. But yeah, I didn't understand what you were saying. Oh. Wait, you said I cleared it all up, but then you didn't understand what I was saying? I don't follow. Oh, okay. So just to summarize one more time. So there's two tricky things about this program. So you think that it should work one way, but you run it and it prints out this weird thing and we don't know why. It turns out that this is from two factors. The first factor being that when you run print, it first assembles the string, right? It waits for the whole string to be there, right? And then it prints out that whole string. So that's why all of this stuff gets printed out at the end. And then the other thing that makes it tricky is that when you make a val, right, is that vals are run as soon as you initialize the object. So this is run first, and then after that, b is permanently equal to 3. It's not like this function anymore. It's just equal to 3 forever. Where did you find this? Where did you find that question? Does the chat come up on this room? I wonder. Oh. One that guy recommended. Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't looked at that yet, but I probably should. I will look at it after I already started this one tutorial series though. Yeah, the stream has been really, really great. One thing that I would is that even though the Scalalang, like from their website, the tutorials like suck, and I probably wouldn't have even like continued with it if it wasn't for my chat. Like my chat's been so good. Like I was saying this last stream, but literally like I've just had like 3 professional Scala devs in my stream the whole time, just like asking, like watching it and like answering all the questions that I'm having, like helping me like walk through the code. It's like I realized this last stream, but like for the last few streams, I've literally had like professional like I've literally just been getting tutored. Like I should be paying these guys because they're just teaching me how to code Scala. Because like that's one of the reasons why like I go through the tutorial so slow is because like I start like one thing, right? But then they keep on telling me all this stuff, you know. So they told me like how to do SBT and all this stuff. Like I had this one guy that was like, "Oh, don't use the Scala C," and I guess I ended up not totally following through with that. But then we spent an hour, and he was like, this guy who does Scala for a living, like took his time out to just like walk me through how to use SBT and how to make it like good. And then like I've just been getting like tutored like this whole time, and I was like, so I'm actually super fortunate that I'm able to have all these people like teach me stuff. So yeah. That's why everybody in the chat that wants to learn about Scala should definitely tune into the streams because I'm going to try to teach you guys as much as I know as I learn it, but also the people in the chat are great at asking questions or at answering questions. And if you have questions in the chat, then that's cool too. But it's crazy like how much attention I'm getting from like these super experts. So yeah. Oh, I never showed you like the other way of doing it. I ended up figuring like I ended up figuring out the solution to it from without having to look at this, but if you were having trouble understanding what's going on, this would be a good way to do it because here you can like see all that stuff. Because you can actually see what it's doing and like yeah. And this also like for example, if you were confused with how the print line works and that's one of the things I was tripping up, like why isn't it printing this, why is it printing everything out at the end, like what's going on, this would show you that that's what's actually going on. And if also you were confused about like the val thing and how vals are all run at the beginning, this would also like clear that up. So oh, what's up? What? No, talking to the internet.
You're still going to FizCon, right?
Yeah.
Have you put any thought into making a poster for this thing?
I haven't put any thought into it. I can make a poster. I shouldn't be. Isn't there already a poster? Like, could just replace some of the pictures or something.
About our black hole stuff?
Yeah. Well, isn't that what?
I made one. Keelan and I made one a couple of years back.
Yeah.
You could reuse that.
Yeah. Well, how long does it? I've never made a poster before, so I don't.
It takes a solid day of work.
I could probably find it a day.
If I sent you the old one, you could just edit it and put in.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, because we have some like better pictures and nicer graphics, and then could put in
Well, I don't know if our pictures are better, but what I didn't like about Keelan's was she made it on a Mac. She put a massive background image in there of a black hole or something, which makes the file huge and actually crashes the printer half the time.
Really.
It's kind of awkward to work with.
Yeah.
It keeps crashing whenever you use PowerPoint. I'd like a more stripped down one that had our results, a couple of cool pictures, but not necessarily the massive background.
Okay. How long?
I'll send you that. Do what you can with it, and if you don't get done, you can just use it. Yeah, I think you might be able to make it better.
Yeah.
I'll send it to you right now.
All right. Thank you. My mom also called me. I'm a busy guy right now. Hey, what's up? Hey, did you call? Hello? Yeah, you called? Yeah, you called? Now it's fine. Yeah. Well, that's also good, but I'm ready now. I've been ready for a while. Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Bye. The poster, I'm going to PhysCon next week, which is in Rhode Island, and it's a poster for my physics research. So, have you done anything on it yet? Done anything on what? I don't know what that is referring to. Why is it green? Is it green for you guys too? That's pretty bad. Or is it just like because I was like switching tabs or something? Have you done anything on it yet? OS? Oh, the stream title. Okay. Yes, I have. I've actually done a lot of stuff on it. I gotta change that. But
When
hey,
you're
what's
done
up?
with this room, like turn off the lights and lock it.
Yeah. Well, I certainly won't forget now.
Would you have forgotten before?
Probably not. I mean, I've locked up here a bunch. So I'm not actually working on that right now. So let me change the, although I'm probably gonna get off in a minute because, yeah, actually I'm gonna stop streaming now because I have work to do. But if you want to drop a follow, I'll probably be streaming that later this afternoon, and it's actually really really cool. I'd like to show it to you, Isu. I'll give you a follow, or friend or whatever it's called. So then, yeah. So thanks so much, dude. I'm hopping off right now. How do I stop this? Okay, there you go. All right. Oh wait, we gotta. Last thing. Before I get out of here, so let's. All right. So let's read this guy right now. All right. Thanks so much, everybody, for stopping by. Super fast React JS. Let's go. All right. Thanks so much.
video memory directly as the state of the game. So that's actually pretty cool. But video memory is extremely slow, so it's not that easy to use that. But yeah, you can use like a small section here for variables and stuff.
You can actually see specific changes, for example, when Pillman changes direction, which means this game may only need a couple dozen bytes of RAM for variables. It's really blurry trying to zoom into these from a screen capture, but here's a still shot from DOSBox. This is reminiscent of the Atari 2600 since it only had 128 bytes of RAM. Speaking of DOSBox, many people may be wondering how I'm booting a raw disk image like this from DOSBox. Well, it's actually quite easy. So once you have DOSBox open, you just type the command boot followed by the path to the disk image you want to use. In this case, Tetris. I assume that's an amalgamation of the word Tetris and operating system, since the game has its own operating system. So yeah, this is a very playable version of Tetris that fits completely in a boot sector. There are other things besides games. For example, this is a functional version of BASIC that runs from a boot sector. This is one of the example programs you can type in, which creates a Pascal triangle. Now, this version of BASIC is very limited, however. It has a very limited command set, and each line can only be 19 characters long. So you aren't going to be able to make anything super exciting. Plus, I don't think there's any way to load and save your work. Okay, now, being realistic for a moment, none of these games are